Of course, all dogs bark, but some dogs are excessive barkers. And if you have a dog that is an excessive barker, they may benefit from a bark collar. This collar I have to show you here has been sent to me for this review, and it is the Smart Dog Bark Control Collar. I am going to be putting this on a dog to show you an actual demonstration of them barking and how the collar responds to that bark. But before I do that, I do want to show you the different features of this collar and how to choose the different training modes that it offers. So here's what the collar itself looks like. It is adjustable, so you can use it on your small to large dogs. However, if you have a dog that is less than 8 pounds, then it is not recommended to use this collar on them. We have a nice LED display screen, which we will take a look at. On the back, you see this little hole here. That is going to be the sensor that senses the dog's bark. These are your contact points. These silicone pieces do just sit on top of the prongs. And you also get 2 different sizes of prongs with the silicone prong covers. And the difference between the two is for fur length. So if you have a super furry dog like a husky, then you're going to want to use the longer prongs. And those prongs do just screw in just like this. But of course, if you have a medium to short-haired dog, then you would want to use the shorter prongs. And then they do also provide you with the charger, and the charger is magnetic, so it just sits on the back there. You do need to have your own wall adapter. And then of course you get your shock tester to make sure that the static shock is working properly. So taking a look at the LED screen and the different modes. So you have your power button on top here, and like I said, you have a nice LED display screen so you can see everything clearly. Up in the top left hand corner is your battery indicator, so you know when it needs recharged. And then you have these little icons that we are going to go over. So this first icon is the tone. When it detects barking, all it's going to do is beep. Then once you press mode, you're going to switch to the next one. So once it detects any barking, then all it's going to do is vibrate. So we can set that off again, and all I'm doing to set this off is blowing right into the sensor. So there you can hear the vibration, press mode again, and it's going to combine the two. So once they bark, you're going to have a tone, and then you're going to have vibration. Press mode again, and you're going to go into the static shock. So it's going to go from tone, vibrate to static shock, and then you notice this little L up here. That means that the static shock intensity is in low. Press mode again, you're going to go to medium and high. One thing I do want to show you is, depending on what training mode you are on, you're going to notice this P right here start to fill up. So we set it off 1 time. Set it off 2 times. And I don't know if you can hear the difference, but with each time it gets set off, the intensity changes in the vibration. So it's not the same vibrate every single time. It increases with each time it is being set off. You can only set the collar off a certain amount of times. So when this gets filled up with those little squares, then this will stop working for a certain amount of time. And that is in place as a safety feature. So if you are using the static shock, they're only going to be allowed to be shocked a certain amount of times before the safety feature kicks in. And even if they're barking, it will not send the signal through. Then lastly, before we put it on a dog, you have this number in the middle here, and that is going to be your sensitivity. So it goes from 1 to 8, and you can change that sensitivity with a quick press of the power button. And what that does is allows you to control the sensitivity of the sensor based on the noise level of the environment that your dog is in at that given time. One thing I do want you to make note of is the design of this collar. So typically with training collars like this, you can remove the prongs and you will have a flat surface on the back of the collar, so nothing is poking into your dog's neck when it doesn't need to be. With this collar, even if they are trained to the point where you don't need the static shock and you just want the tone to kind of remind them to quit barking, then it would be ideal to be able to just remove the prongs and keep this collar on them. But I would not recommend doing that because the way this is designed is even if you remove the prongs, you're still going to have this piece sticking into your dog's neck, which I feel is eventually going to be very uncomfortable for them. But with all that being said, let's go ahead, put this on a dog and see how the collar works for him. So Copper here is going to be demonstrating the bark collar for us. It is on the training mode, just the tone, so we're not going to be vibrating him or shocking him at all. And it is on sensitivity level 8, so as soon as he barks, it should be detected and the tone will go off. Alright, so as you can see there, as soon as he barked, it was loud enough to be detected by the collar. So that's pretty much everything about the bark control collar. I do like this collar. I like that it gives you the options of what training modes to have it on. And I also like the large LED screen so everything can be read clearly. And I also like the simplicity of choosing what training modes you want it to be on. A couple things I'm not a huge fan of with this collar is the sensor. Like I mentioned before, you can choose the different sensitivities that you want for this collar, but I do feel that it works best when the sensitivity is high at all times, because I have had this on one of the dogs and they were barking, but the sensor wasn't picking up because the sensitivity was too low. And it wasn't like a super noisy environment or anything like that, so the collar should have been able to pick that bark up, but like I said, it wasn't. So that's one thing I'm not a huge fan of. It seems like this collar can get a little bit inconsistent. And then the other thing I don't really like is the design of the contact points. Like I was mentioning, you can't do anything about this little piece sticking out, even if you weren't using the static shock on your dog. But as you can see, it does work. If your dog is trained properly on these training collars, they will respond really well. As you've seen, our dog responded really well to this collar. There is a lot of training methods out there. There's a lot of collars to choose from. This is the Smart Dog Bark Control Collar, and I hope that this review helped you out in deciding if this is the collar for your training method with your dog.